one of the things that amazed me every day was that there was a paper at my door every day, and it was definitely like watching sausage because
Yeah.
personally, there were a lot of people there who I adored.
Yes.
I mean, worship, and I still do.
Yes.
There are some people there who were, I thought, as stupid as bags of hair.
Hello and welcome to Here in LA, Sherman Oaks edition. Today we talk with Robin Mayper, a longtime resident of the Valley who we met when she was a research librarian at the Los Angeles Times. Now Robin is retired and about to sell her beautiful and haunted home, which will probably get turned into a McMansion. She's going to live on a boat with her hunky man and live a carefree life. Tell me that ain't goals. So let's hear from Robin in Sherman Oaks. Robin, thank you for having me into your beautiful home.
You're very welcome.
You are close to the LA River
Yes.
and close to the freeway.
Yes.
And right now, the freeway is kind of empty because it's rained,
Yeah.
but the river's full.
Oh, I have to go over there. I do that every time, and we have a good rain. I go watch the river flow. I've taken videos of it and posted them on Facebook.
How long have you lived here in Sherman Oaks?
I moved here in 1997.
Oh.
I was about a year or two after my divorce.
Uh-huh.
One of my closest friends was looking for a house, and like Lucy and Ethel, she wanted me to get a house too. Mm-hmm. And our real estate agent was just this awesome woman, and she found me a house.
Where did you live before Sherman Oaks?
I was in North Hollywood near Vineland.
Yep.
On Whipple Street.
Uh-huh.
And previous to that, I was on Clump Avenue. That's where I lived with my ex-husband. We had a little house. Uh-huh. And I've been in the Valley a long time. I moved here probably early 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, I lived in Manhattan Beach for a while.
Uh-huh.
It's 5 blocks from the ocean.
Yeah.
And Eagle Rock.
Did you?
Yes. In fact, John and I lived in Eagle Rock for a little while.
Is John that tall, handsome man I saw you with?
Yes, that's my tall, handsome man.
You bounced back from that divorce pretty well, Robin.
John and I met in college.
Which college?
University of the Pacific. Actually,
Up in Sacramento?
it's Stockton.
Wow.
It was, we were both worked, it was my summer graduation, and we both worked at the Stockton airport. I was 21, he was 19, he had thighs like you.
It looks like he still does. There's nothing wrong with the man I just saw.
Oh, no.
How tall is that man?
6'6".
6'6".
He's cute.
How tall are you?
5'4".
Look at that.
I love him.
Oh, there's a picture of you guys.
That's from 1978.
It sure looks like the 70s. And you're holding hands. There's a bottle of wine. Yeah. He's smoking a cigarette.
Oh, God, yes.
Were you guys sweeties back then?
That's when we met, and we were together for a couple of years, then broke up, and then got together again, and then broke up. And then we've been again together for the last 10, 11 years.
Wow. Did he have a starter wife also?
Yes, he had actually one or two.
Couple of them. Third time's a charm, though,
So
right?
every time he left me, he married the wrong person. And I said, well, don't leave me anymore. And now he's listening. So now we're together forever. It's really cool. He's my best friend. I love him more than anything. Aww. And it's one of the reasons that, this is the punchline. I will be selling the house this year. I have to.
Oh, really?
I can't really afford to live here anymore.
Oh.
I'm retired. I'm not going back to work.
Yeah.
I love this house. I love my neighborhood. But I decided that at this point in my life, I want to have fun.
Yeah.
The past 2 years have been hellish in that, luckily I was here, but I decided all I wanted to do was be with John and spending the time on the boat. I love it.
He's got a 40-foot sailboat. And that's what you're going to do, sell the house and just live on the boat?
Live on the boat.
And sail around a bit?
Yeah, I'm going to have a place in Phoenix. That's where my family is. And I want to be, I want to be free of obligations. I've
hear
been
ya.
here for over 25 years, almost
Right.
25 years. I'm ready to not have to pay bills.
Yeah. That's a great goal.
And I love this place, but it's going to be torn down like all the houses around
You
here.
say that because you live next door to a mansion. Did you watch that house get torn down and this new
Yes,
thing get
yes.
built?
Yes,
Was the
yes, yes.
previous house looking like this one?
Very much. There was a lot of different people lived there. They were all renters.
Yeah.
And one couple was there I'm still friends with. They got married, and she did my original landscaping, which looks nothing like this.
What I love about your yard is it looks very natural.
Yeah.
Like if we could go back 200, 300 years, maybe this is what
It's a field.
the valley would look like if there was a little bit of water.
Yeah.
Because you probably give it more water than
No,
nature
I don't.
does.
I don't water it at all.
Really?
I depend on the rain. So, I mean, other years I've had incredible vegetable garden and stuff. It's all wildflowers, plants that can take drought. That was the original plan when we did it, and we did it like in 2003.
Yeah.
So it's totally different now. But some of the original plants are still here. She
Very lush. I see some wildflowers out
a lot
there.
of wildflower. That's my addition. One year when we had great rain, the entire yard was poppies.
There's poppies out there?
I had you remember one year we had the poppy explosion up in
Yes.
my
The super
yard?
bloom.
The super bloom. That's what I had.
In your front yard.
Yeah. And the back. The back was crazy too. Back is a meadow also. It's a meadow. That's what it's
How
called.
did you get these poppies? Because I heard that we have to be careful about picking poppies. and-
I'm sure I had some seed packs. I had.
I just went to the store and got some seeds.
I got seeds, and they
Great.
just regenerate themselves every year.
So I want poppies in my yard.
Yeah.
You recommend that?
Oh yeah.
Just go to
They're
wherever?
weeds. They're really weeds.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, they're weeds, but they're gorgeous. and I
Okay,
love
so
them.
your next door neighbor I think because I did a little research.
Yeah.
You're a research person, and I needed to research on you a little bit. But I got stuck when I saw this McMansion next to you.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I wonder what she thinks about this. And
Oh, I hate it.
because it doesn't fit in, does it?
No,
It's just too big and too modern. And
the turrets. I hate the turrets. It's
Yeah.
all around. It is. I remember watching it being built and just thinking, oh my God, is that ugly?
yeah.
And it really is upset. It was upsetting. And then,
Did your other neighbors feel the same way?
yeah, I think so. But
You're polite people.
we're polite, and they're really nice people. They're very sweet, and
Yeah.
I think he worked for BDO, which is like a big. So I think they have lots of money, but they're nice people.
Good. Good.
He's a little, but she is adorable and sweet. I mean, I
Does it help the neighborhood value if there's a $2 million house on the block?
I'm sure. There's one of those houses over there.
I see
with
it.
with the fence around it for
Yeah.
sale.
Yeah.
A Braxton lives there, and they've only moved in there.
Like a Tony Braxton?
Yeah, one of the
Really?
Braxton people. Yes, if you look up the Braxton Sherman Oaks, story comes up.
Huh.
I guess someone died in the family,
Oh.
and they're selling. I don't know, but that's their.
Have you ever? Did you consider just renting this place out while you're on the boat?
Actually, that was one of my ideas. I was going to fix up stuff and everything, and I didn't have the money.
Why even bother fixing it up?
You have to.
You do have to fix it
I
up?
have a lot of things that need to be fixed,
Huh.
and
I would love to move into a place like this.
yeah,
Because
but
this
there's so
feels
much-
like a real.
I have a leak. I have a pipe that's broken.
Oh, really?
I got stuff
Okay.
that needs to be taken care of. I'm sure there's dry rot.
You've been here how many years?
20, almost 25. June will be 25. I think.
So you're going to make some money off of this sale, right?
Yes, I've talked to my agent already.
Well, the only
Yes.
reason I bring it up is I've talked to now 2 real estate people for this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean houses that were bought 5 years ago are turning a healthy profit.
Yeah, I'm frightened about capital gains, but I
Oh,
could
you
tell
get
you what I
taxed on
bought.
that.
I could tell you what I paid for this house.
Do you want to?
Sure, I don't mind.
Okay.
150.
How many bedrooms is this?
Well, the property says 3, but it's actually 2 because
2 real bedrooms.
yeah, that over there at that line was a bedroom.
Okay.
A long, long time ago, before I moved in. It was all one room.
That wasn't a living room?
No, this was a living room when I moved in.
Yeah.
But not originally. This house was built in
Was
Built
this
in 45.
Was this dining room the living room?
Yeah, I guess this.
You did
this part.
they did the right. That should be your living room over there.
Yeah. One of my friends used to call it the bowling alley.
Because it's long. I think this is wonderful, though.
Oh, I love this.
The living room should spill
This
over
is
to the
such
dining
a great
room.
party house. I've had
I
some
bet.
wonderful parties here.
I bet.
Outside, inside, family.
Yeah. Okay, so you're going to list it as a 2-bedroom.
Yeah, I think so.
How many baths?
1.5.
How much room do you have in the backyard there?
It's a standard lot. I think they're all around 6,000 something. It's a standard lot.
6,000 feet in the backyard.
Something like that, yeah.
Could somebody put
Easily a pool.
a pool, a hot tub? Could they put another dwelling back there and rent that thing out?
As a matter of fact, I have a little room on the other side of the garage right behind. There was always that room there, and I had a guy fixed it up for me, and it's small, but it could have been.
Yeah.
I could have put an ADU out here, or the garage.
So turn the garage and that room
Yeah,
into
could've.
a thing.
But the money, I didn't have the money.
You don't
Or
have-
the
but
will.
What I'm
or
saying,
the-
though, is the next buyer might have that.
Yeah, I think this house has a really good foundation. I mean, has a scroll space underneath, which a lot of news.
Good.
And this is it might be legendary, but my boss once told me that they took wood from the Japanese camps
The internment
and built
camps.
houses in the valley with it.
Wow.
This house was built in 45, and I think the wood in this house is like stone.
Wow.
So it's very possible.
Do you believe in
know?
ghosts?
Oh yeah, this house has spirits. My cats mostly, but it
Your,
has
your former cats?
my former cats. But also one day,
Hold on. You hear your old cats from time to time?
oh my God, yes.
Really?
I'd feel them jumping on the bed.
Oh, my
Or I'd see
goodness.
them. It might be because I smoke a lot of dope. But,
Who doesn't?
yeah. Well, thank you. But yeah, I see them tails sometimes.
Is that a nice feeling? Is that a nice...
Yeah, my last kitty I passed last spring,
Oh.
and I had to put her to sleep. She was ready to go.
Yeah.
I once waited too long, and then you don't ever want to do that.
Yeah.
And I really felt I was away. I went away afterwards, and when I came back, I was on the bed, and I felt her next to me. Wow. And stuff. I mean, she was the hardest. She was the hardest one.
What was her name?
Frankie.
Shout out Frankie.
Yeah, Frankie,
we-
my kitty cat.
We know you're out there listening, and we miss you and we love you.
Yeah, she's a good. She was the little cat I got when I was redoing my house. We were redoing the lawn. See, every year I would do a big project: the windows, the roof, the air conditioning, the heating. And one year I did the landscaping, and it was great. And the woman I did it with was amazing. And like I said, still a friend.
The reason I ask about ghosts, do you think any of these internment negative ghosts?
I don't know.
You haven't felt anything negative from
No,
this house?
this house has such a great vibe. Someone came by one day, and she said her father built all the stuff here, the cabinets and stuff like
The
that.
built-ins, yeah.
And she was so happy to see it was still a regular house.
Yes.
I didn't say anything to her at the time. It just had a really good vibe. I believed that when I got this house, because other people had made other bids, but it eventually came to me, partly because of my incredible real estate agent, but also because I believe my dad helped, because he only appeared when I was he was always around when I'm making big purchases, like cars and things like that. And I think he kind of made sure I got this house.
Are you talking the spirit of your father?
Oh, yeah. I think he was here.
So whenever you're making a big financial move, you feel a presence.
My dad is there.
Did you have a good relationship
I
with
adored him. He was great. He was a good man. He was funny, and he was a good dad.
Yeah.
And he Yeah, good man, good dad. He had us growing up on boats, motor boats mostly, but and so I said I learned how to walk on a boat. So when I'm on the boat, it's like it brings back the childhood,
Yes.
my dad, the fear, and sitting out there, just sitting there, watching the waves, watching the boats, watching the people, was so good for my head.
Yeah.
So that's when I already decided that I wanted to be with John. I mean, that was already, and the boat was only secondary to it, but it works down there.
So you bought this place for $150,000. Did that seem like a lot back then to you?
Oh my God, I almost died.
Yeah.
I was like blown away. But a friend of mine came over about 2 days after I bought it and said to me, Robin, the value of this house has risen since you moved in. And he was right. He was right.
So what do you think you'll be able to sell it for now?
Oh, over $1 million. It will be torn down.
Isn't that wonderful, though?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't
oh, yeah.
it nice to know?
I think my dad's proud of me.
Right. Isn't it nice to know
Yeah.
this thing that you had to gulp before you signed the papers?
Oh, God. It was...
And you worked and paid it off.
No, it's not paid off.
Well, you
I
worked.
still haven't worked. I refinanced several
Well,
times.
okay, that's fine. But
It,
still.
it saved me from being poor, working poor. I had a deduction. I had deductions. And it kept a lot of my money with me. I mean, I didn't make a lot of money,
Right.
but it kept money near me. It kept my money closer.
Let's move over to the LA Times.
Okay.
Because that's where we met.
Yes.
You worked in the library?
I was, what do they call this? We were research librarians. Now, I knew of you from LAist.
Did
I used to
you?
read you all the time. I thought you
Really?
were great. I remember one time I wanted to have an argument with you, and I didn't get around to it. But
God.
yeah, but
I would have burned the bridge.
It was you had made a comment about how they don't talk about the things about Christmas on the news. It was something they were talking about something else. They were talking about Hanukkah or something, and you said, "Well, they should talk about Christmas." And I thought that everybody knows about Christmas. Not everyone knows about Hanukkah.
That is
it's
true.
kind of like when someone says, "Why should they have a black entertainment network?" I said, "Because everything else is the white entertainment
Yes.
network." So that to me was
I am surprised for a woman who says she smoked so much dope that you remember.
I remember.
2006
I remember
being mad at me.
Yes, I was really irritated with you about that. But it was like I wanted to answer you back, but I was very shy about responding on websites
Well, that's a
because
good
I was
idea.
at the Times.
Well, also, I'm back then. I was kind of a jerk online.
Oh, you were funny. You were good.
Well, not in the comments. I wasn't funny.
No.
I was mean.
Yeah.
I told people
Comments were the best part.
The comments were the best part. And I would tell people where they could kiss it. Because, I don't know about you, but I love Howard Stern.
Yeah, I know you have that whole Stern page and everything.
I do. And one thing that got me into Stern was when he would yell at the people who would complain about the show. I thought that was better than the show.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, if I can somehow do that in the comments of LAist, maybe we can get LAist on the map. I was hell bent on making that successful because I could not believe that they were going to pay me money to run a blog.
Yeah.
That seemed like the greatest gig ever.
And it was really good.
Thank you.
It had some great stuff in there, and I always enjoyed it.
It was because I was able to get some of the greatest unsigned talent there was. And some of them ended up at the LA Times. Some of them are everywhere
Zach
now.
Burns did a good job.
Zach did a good job.
I knew his name. Well, he did here in Van Nuys.
Yes.
So, of course, I knew him, I didn't know. I've never met him. But
Zach was the perfect balance to me because he liked hiking.
he was very mellow.
He was super
very chill,
mellow.
very chill guy.
Maybe a little too chill for my taste.
Hmm.
We had a war to fight. he was at the neighborhood council meeting.
Yeah.
And I was like, you get your ass out in the valley and give me some pictures. But he was a softer version of who I was.
Yeah.
And I think together we worked together very well.
Yeah, he was a good guy. I mean, I enjoyed his... I said it was different when you left, but then you came to the Times, and I was so excited. I had in my thought, oh, maybe okay, I can do a library blog or something. I was really
Would have loved that.
I know, but
The politics, the red
thank
tape.
You. Thank you.
I mean, it was eye-opening to me because I had no idea what a real newspaper was like. But one of the things I learned was about people like you and that job and that part of that old building, R.I.P. that old building, that fantastic old building that we'll never have again, something like that. That's not only that old, but that beautifully architecture.
The history. All the
history. The deaths that happened there, and the fact that so much news came in and out of that place.
It amazed me. One of the things, I was not a journalism person, but I was a researcher, law librarian, so, that kind of thing. So one of the things that amazed me every day was that there was a paper on and I subscribed to the paper, I paid for it.
Me too.
And at my door every day, and it was definitely like watching sausage because personally, there were a lot of people there who I adored.
Yes.
I mean, worship, and I still do.
Yes.
There are some people there who were, I thought, as stupid as bags of hair. And I would, of course, never say anything because you had to be polite. Right. But there were times that I would just shake my head.
Yeah.
And we would sometimes talk about the stupid questions and laugh about them. And when I first started there, it was a lot more formal. We had a big
year
staff.
Was
that was 1998. Okay. I started in January of 98. We had a staff of at least 15, if not more.
In the research library?
In the research library. We had an entire photography group who just dealt with pictures. And it was different.
I'm going to keep cutting you off because you're a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And people outside of this world have no idea. So when you say you had these people dealt with photos, does that mean if, I don't want to jinx him, but if Sandy Koufax dies today, somebody would go back into the archives and pull up a half dozen, 2 dozen pictures of Sandy
someone
Koufax?
Like Sandy Koufax probably already, in those days, had a pre-obit. The pictures were always set.
Right.
But they would, we did, and that's something we did until the day I left, pulled photos for obits. Obits research changed over the years a lot, and it was for a while it was just Myrna Oliver doing all the obits. Yeah. Then John Thurber took over, and people were it changed a lot. But essentially we would get if someone died on the weekend and they didn't have a pre-obit, we would do all the research. At the end, we had one guy doing all the research, but we all did research because if he wasn't there or something. But pulled a lot of pictures. I once got a credit on an obit because Schneider, the guy in
from
Roy Scheider. Scheider.
Yeah.
Because it was Michael Landsberg was working the desk, and I said, "Oh my God, he's like one of my favorites. I love that movie," and I was pulling pictures, looking for stuff. I said the best picture would be this, but we couldn't find it. So and he was a friend of mine. Mitchell, one of my favorite people.
Was this a lot of microfiche that you were going through?
When we first started there, we had to use clip files.
Oh.
We used the clip files a lot because we did, and as everything got put on microfilm, we used microfilm. Then everything was scanned and so we could look up the old stuff online, which then the newsroom could do it too.
Yeah.
Things changed. We did a lot more when I first started there. We did everything when I first started there. And then towards the end, because people were getting their own Lexus numbers and this and that, we did a lot less. Yeah. But we still did finding people, public records, organizations, still did photos.
Right.
Did like more little special project things and stuff like that. The big Hollywood Boulevard Hall of Fame, that was actually something that was the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
I remember that well. Oh, hold on.
We should have done it.
This was there was a lot of wild ideas. When the Chicago Tribune, when Tribune bought the LA Times, I mean, it could be a comedy miniseries. And being from Chicago, it broke my heart that they had so many terrible ideas about what they were going to do with this paper that they own that's larger than them, whose culture is very, very different than theirs, who they aren't really rooting for in a way, and wouldn't mind if they could just demolish it like you're about to do to this house and turn it into a mini mansion of money for them. And so one of their great ideas was, oh, the iPhone has just come out. Oh, there's apps now. Let's make an app for the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Not a bad idea.
No.
Because when a tourist walks down those streets, and you're like, who's this guy? It would be great to type that in and figure it out. And so what I loved about this project was a lot of the people in the newsrooms, including me, had to help out on like 4 or 5 stars. And if we all did it together, then it was great. So I imagine your department had to work on it a lot.
No, I think the person who is in charge of it had a real bug in her butt about the library. She was very, my opinion, she didn't like us. She had someone who used to work in the library then. And the reason I have very strong feelings about how this whole thing was done was one of the things, as we lost personnel, I picked up duties because I'm a smart girl. Keep busy, right? I started putting all the photos away because we didn't have anyone to do it. And they just would take them out, and they wouldn't check them out, and they threw, we were losing stuff all the time. And one day I said to my boss, can you please talk to so-and-so about getting the pictures back so we can refile them, so we have them? And he screamed at me. Because this is all gossip, this particular person was his friend, and he was not confrontational. The head of it all, like I said, I considered this person to be an enemy of the library. I think she looked down on us, didn't like us for some reason. I don't know why, and later on, talking to another former employee, and I said, I think she was one of the people that hurt us a lot. She said, yes, she has very sharp elbows. Good this comes from someone who I love and respect. So,
help me out with this theory. I have a theory that says if you don't have competition, real competition, then you fight within. And I think the biggest problem with the LA Times was there wasn't another LA Times to compete against.
Yeah. There was, I don't know. I mean, I look at a lot of personalities there, and my feeling was I think there was a lot of sexism. And I think really sexism. I mean, I remember an editor who was not a real good looker.
We said we were not going to diss the LA Times.
No, but I think there was a lot of sexism there, and I think the way to get
there wasn't. I mean, on paper, that's kind of there wasn't a lot of senior editors and above that were female.
No.
I mean, it's changed recently.
Oh, yeah, they're doing a great job now.
They are doing a great job.
I think when I call him Patrick, when Patrick bought the Times, I was ecstatic.
Everything changed.
I believe so. I think he's a terrific, brilliant man.
Yes.
And interesting because after I left the Times, I got a job at Citric. I worked for Mike Citric. And the only thing I'll say about that is that I think Mike Citric is one of the nicest, most charming people I've ever met in my life.
That's fantastic.
Unfortunately, the job didn't work out, but it made a big difference in my life.
That's good.
And I could retire.
Oh, good.
And it was an experience. And the person who got me the job was Sally Hoffmeister.
Really?
Who is the woman who I love. I would give Sally my kidneys.
Wow.
Both of them. I love Sally Hoffmeister. And she messaged on one of my postings from Mexico. saying how happy she was to see me. And I said, I couldn't do it without you. Couldn't have done it without you.
Was she entertainment or was she features?
She was the entertainment editor.
That's
Yeah,
right.
she was like business ed because she had the business thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, she had a problem with Devon.
Okay, let me just ask one more question about the LA Times.
Okay.
There were 2 days that will live with me forever while I was there. I was only there for about 4.5 years.
Okay.
One was when Barack Obama was elected, and the other was when Michael Jackson died.
Oh yeah, both days.
And
I was there.
I know
I
you
got
were.
the calls.
I'm about to ask you about those. The reason that they will always sit with me is we can gossip about who was prickly with who and who didn't appreciate what. But when the rubber hit the road, when real news was happening, groundbreaking news that you knew these front pages would live forever on that hallway that was down on the first floor or in people's homes, that building hummed. And it was
Incredible.
And it was eerily quiet during those times. I always imagined that phones would be ringing, but this is modern time. They didn't have phones that really rang. A few. But for the most part, people either had cell phones or it was email. But anyways, on those days, it was quiet.
Because everybody was working.
There was no BS going on. Everybody was working. There was a deadline. And I feel like everybody pretty much honored the deadline, no matter when, on important stories like these.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What was going on in your department for one of these 2 days?
I think, I don't really remember anybody even being around at the time. I mean, it was like I was the only one there for some reason, which happened a lot. I remember getting, first, I think there was some kind of inkling going on. And I got a call that was from England.
About Michael Jackson.
Yeah, it said, we hear that Michael Jackson died. And I said, I can't confirm that. We are searching, we're looking now. And he goes, he called us.
Of course.
The library or the LA Times to confirm. Yeah. It was Richard Winton, I bet, was working on it.
Yep, for the crime part.
Sure. And
Harriet Ryan
oh, yeah, she
was
did all that
involved.
stuff.
I mean, everybody was involved, which was
Yeah,
great
and
thing.
I think it was like get all the profiles of Michael Jackson and the pictures. And of course, the pictures were everywhere.
That was your instruction.
That was probably one of the things I did. They might have had so much already.
Yeah.
Because, good Lord, I mean, it wasn't, it was different. I mean, no one expected him to die, but on the other hand, they might have already had it pre-written. They had a lot of people pre-written, especially young people.
Wasn't he only like 50 though?
Yeah. But
Uh-huh.
he had, I mean, I think they had a lot of them already done.
Good.
I recall years, one of the reporters, one of the guys was long gone, one of the brilliant ones, saying, yeah, I was in charge of doing the pre-obits for Reagan, Hope, and Dope, and the Pope. That's what he said. Hope, Dope, and the Pope. And so, I mean, yeah, they were all done. They were always done previous,
Right.
especially like Reagan's.
Because if it happens right on deadline, you don't want to screw it up and
Yeah.
miss a day in print.
Yeah, it was, and of course the web got everything first. For a while it was the web. We did everything for the web, But I always felt the paper was more important.
You weren't alone.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, yes, the paper was more important, but I swear to God, there were people there who did not read the damn paper.
Oh yeah.
When somebody called me and said, can you get me some information on this? And I said, oh, I was talking to the reporter up in San Francisco about this. I used the person's name and they said, oh, who does she work for? I go, she works for this paper, don't you know? And it killed me because it was one of the best reporters I knew.
Yeah.
And as the years went on, I was losing a lot of respect for some of the reporters.
Yeah.
Many who were still there or came back. are some of the most brilliant people,
Yep.
awesome,
Yep.
awesome people. Some of the people there,
But okay, isn't that just human nature, though?
it's being a librarian. Librarians tend, and I like to think librarians generally are smarter than most
Yep.
because we look it up before we say it. We're smart. We know how to do. I mean, sometimes the questions I would get were like, "You got to be kidding me," or I'll give you my all-time favorite, and I didn't get upset because the girl was really young. She came in, she goes, "I need some photos of Linda Ronstadt. She's a singer."
Ooh.
And I just looked at her and I said, "I know." I know. And I'm thinking to myself, and when I tell the story, I said, "Linda Ronstadt is a queen. She's a goddess. She's the best in the world."
That's right.
She's not just a singer. So, but then again, when I had to look up hair bands, I had to get Kent to help me because I didn't know what the hair bands were.
Which I think is always a fascinating thing to me about newspapers and their social media teams, because social media, you are the billboard of the newspaper out there.
Yeah.
Maybe even more powerful than a billboard because you're being seen by everybody. I think the struggle is when you hire a staff of 20-year-olds and somebody outside of their generation either dies or screws up. You might say Linda Ronstadt, comma, the singer in the tweet, and makes everybody look stupid. But at the same time, you kind of need some young blood in your newspaper.
Oh, without a doubt.
For lots of reasons, including salaries.
Without a doubt, but they had to. I remember a terrible correction. They had a post about Mel Torme. Or it wasn't Mel Torme, Edie Gourmet.
Uh-huh.
They spelled her name totally wrong because they didn't know who she was.
Right.
Not my generation.
Well,
but I knew who she was.
But see, again, one thing I loved about the LA Times was that building was filled with knowledge.
History.
Swivel your chair to the old person, or swivel your chair to the young person. Like,
oh, it was awesome.
People want to tell you. These are journalists love knowledge.
Oh my
and they
God.
love communication.
And they were great.
Swivel your chair and ask.
I talked to I remember Kevin Thomas sometimes would come in the library at night, and he liked me, and he would tell me stories, and I go, "Kevin, you got to write these." Yeah. Susan King has a book, 2, 3. I worry about her all the time. I love that woman.
What are you worrying about?
Oh, she's not doing well physically.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's
great entertainment writer.
Brilliant. She had more bylines than anybody.
Super prolific. Also was
And
great
smart.
about LA history. She and Pat Morrison could have been a great tag team about just LA history alone. Why is this called that? What's
Susan was more in the entertainment.
Right.
The movies, but she knew her films.
That's right.
She was equal to anyone there. And unfortunately, they didn't respect her enough. Kevin Thomas was a pioneer in gay films. And foreign films, and he didn't get the respect he should have. Kenny Turan, I think, did, but Kenny Turan, lovely man. And let me tell you, the best people there were the nicest, and I could say bar none. Henry Weinstein, who was legal writer, one of the most gracious, kindest men I've ever met. So many of them were complimentary, positive.
Henry Furman, another Henry who was sweet as can be. The copy chief.
I love him. I love that man. I still love that man.
I do too. I'll say something on Twitter and tag him. I'm not asking him to be part of the conversation.
No.
And as you know, I'm not afraid of controversy. No. But Henry's an absolute gentleman from the olden times.
The best.
And his vocabulary is fantastic. So he'll say, "Gracious greetings, Tony, but I will not disparage my former cohorts or those who are in the trenches today." He
was a love. And I remember when he got engaged, because we were even there, we were friends on, and I said, middle-aged love, it's the best. Yes, I have a middle-aged relationship.
That's right.
So yeah, gentleman, charming, and sincere.
Do you have hope? Well, you've hope, I'm sure. Do you have faith that the newspaper 20 years from now will be something that you would want to subscribe to? On your boat?
Yeah.
The paper
Yeah, I
boy
will.
somehow throws it out off the deck?
I still subscribe to the Daily News, which is nothing. I will.
Oh, the LA Daily News.
Yeah. I still subscribe to that.
Because
I live in the Valley.
Do they cover the Valley good enough for you?
They used to much better. And in fact, when I was a law librarian, my law firm was an insurance defense. The Daily News at that time really covered the insurance business. So yeah, so I still get it, comics, but also I'll get the digital version of the LA Times. I don't like reading it online like that, but I get the Washington Post digitally because it's the best writing in the world. And a lot of old LA Times people there.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I mean, Matea Gold is like a managing editor, and I knew when she was a little reporter.
Aww.
And Kathy Decker went there, and Kathy Decker was always up there. And, so there are some people who, I want to follow their writing. And also I think the Washington Post is probably one of the best papers.
It's crazy because when I was hired as blog editor, I had questions from some of the big chiefs, like, do you respect the newspaper? How do you feel about print? All these kind of things. Yeah. And I was like, first of all, I can't believe I'm even in this building because I'm seeing David Lazarus over here. I'm seeing Randy Harvey over here. This is like being at an all-star game for me.
It was.
And so when you start reeling out all these names, maybe people are switching off to go to whoever podcast. But I think when you're in the right place, it does feel like an all-star game. Because you know the names, and it's so cool to actually see the people in front of you.
And the librarians there, they were top. When I started, it was Tom Luckin, who was the director. I knew Tom as a library person. Tom Luckin was awesome. Yeah. Dorothy, who took over, was also. These were people I knew. I knew people there because of libraries in Los Angeles. And it was an incredible crew. I learned so much. Yeah. My first 6 months there, I went from 50 to 150. And I learned every day. I only got better. I never thought of myself as a good researcher until I started there, until I learned. And it was because we had resources. Yes. The resources of the LA Times. People would, people after that, can I call you for questions? And I said, well, frankly, not supposed to. And also, the reason that I'm such a good researcher is because I work here. And we had incredible stuff. Stuff that was never even utilized, but we had it. So, we could probably find almost anything.
If somebody's trying to find old LA Times stuff, is the best way to go through the LA Public Library?
Yeah, that's where everything is. That's the microfilm. Mm-hmm. And and it's all pretty easy to search. It's a funky search. It's not.
It is a funky search.
It's because things like words are split up.
Yes.
And something I learned very early when I started working there, and when I started working there, people did not have email. We used a messaging system, and the library taught everybody in the newsroom how to use the email. They couldn't have email until the library taught them how to do it. It was another world. Yeah. And so they didn't even know how to use the computer. It was a very different place.
We know Dr. Patrick is listening to this podcast.
Okay, good.
Because he's got incredible taste.
He's a friend of Mike Citrix, too.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah. But like I said, that's why I was happy.
Shouldn't he put some resources into truly digitizing the LA Times so that it's very easy for people just through Google to be able to? Because to me, newspapers are the history writers. And that is like, It's priceless information in
It
those
is kind of
archives.
digitalized already. No, I understand doing retrospective is a consideration. But the only thing is, like, when you search the microfilm, what you're doing when you're doing the ProQuest, whatever, you're searching the pictures of the words, which is kind of cool.
Right.
And if a word's broken up, you'll never find it.
Right.
That kind of thing. Or names weren't spelled right, which in the old days, someone once said, your name is spelled the way the LA Times decides it's going to be spelled.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
What was also crazy about back then was they would put people's addresses.
Oh my God, yeah. Where
Victims
they live.
of crimes.
Oh yeah. Well,
Not the criminals, the
yeah.
victims.
That was old newspaper style, I think,
But how crazy is that?
Yeah, where things are. I mean, but I
But
looked
I
up.
guess my goal is I just want it, well, how great would it be just to ask Siri? Hey Siri, give me Hedda Hopper's last article. Oh, now Siri turned on.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I want it to be so simple for people to get into this because you know how hard it is to even write that article.
Yeah.
For it even to get published.
Yeah.
It kills me that it's buried behind all this stuff.
It is. It's buried, but it's also, I don't know. When the internet first came out, I was working mostly public libraries, doing public library work, and people say, "Oh, you're going to be obsolete in 5 years." Well, no, because it's hard to do that, and people give up easily. Google, just your simple Google search, because you get ads first, people give up. You got to sometimes go to the second page.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really funny when people say, oh, libraries will be obsolete because we could do everything at home. And the questions I got and how people couldn't even search a library catalog. And you remember card catalogs?
Of course.
I mean, they were great. They were actually the best research because you had serendipity. You would find things you didn't know.
That's right.
Online research, you don't have that same serendipity.
Sure.
Spelling mistakes.
Yep.
A lot to say for all of it, I mean, I started out when I was in library school. When you got online, you take your phone, you call a number, and you put it in these rubber couplers.
Wow.
DSL was a big freaking deal. Dial-up. I mean, I only knew dial-up. Right. And then DSL, and then everything else. But I think it got harder because there was so much, it was harder to filter.
Yeah.
And that was the thing we did as librarians. We filtered it out.
Right.
Tried to do you always had one person, well, this pile is not as high as that pile. Well, maybe I was more discerning. I mean, being a librarian is an interesting profession.
It's a totally interesting profession, and we wouldn't be where we are today without librarians, so thank you. Let's talk about the Valley.
Oh, yes.
Something you know very well about, because it sounds like you've lived here for a long time, and you've seen a lot of change.
Late 70s, I think I moved here. Early 80s.
Did you see Licorice Pizza, the movie?
Not yet. I'm dying to. I know exactly. It took me, it was years before I realized what a licorice pizza was. So, I'm not that cool. But, yes.
Here's my question for you about the Valley. When I was pitching this podcast to a number of people who rejected me.
Yeah, of course.
Boo-hoo. We're still here. I said, name 3 famous structures in the Valley. And if you can, then you've proved that this podcast is worthless. But if you can't, maybe you do need somebody to go to every neighborhood of the Valley and really show you that the Valley is so different than any other place as large as it is. It's as large as San Diego. It's as large as Chicagoland.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And yet, I think I've even stumped you on this landmark thing.
What?
Can you tell me 3 like buildings or structures or famous things?
The Circus Liquor.
Yes, that's a great one.
I think it's on Lancashire.
Look at you.
Circus Liquor.
As seen in Clueless.
Clueless. I think also in isn't it, there was a funky one.
Like Iron Man or something like that?
I've seen
Because
more
a
than
very iconic, beautiful sign. Incredible sign. Circus Lickers, that's a good one. That's one.
Well, I mean, I think of the theaters. The Lorena Theater.
Lorena Theater is where?
It was on. Well, it was on Ventura, and of course the Sherman Oaks Mall.
If we're going to do wases, then yes.
All right, it's still there.
The Sherman
facade.
Oaks Galleria.
The Sherman Oaks Galleria. We have a Sherman Oaks Mall over here.
Yes. Which downgrade.
Notre Dame High School.
Okay.
Well,
it's not easy though, is it?
No.
Because the Valley isn't like that.
No, it isn't.
The Valley doesn't build a 18-story skyscraper.
No.
Because you don't need to in the Valley.
No. Well, Burbank is still. I love watching the old TV shows that were Adam 12. I was watching Dragnet. And Dragnet, they used the streets, but they didn't do it the right way. But one time I'm watching, I think it was Adam 12, and they said, we're going down Riverside and up Whitsett. And I'm going, I know exactly where that is. All the time, you always see commercials.
Yeah.
I remember seeing, watching TV and I was watching 30-something, and they drove by there used to be a transvestite bar on Ventura Boulevard, and they drove by it. And, that's the Valley. They filmed in the Valley. Yeah. So I recognize things as even the old ones, and it's so cool. I love it.
My last girlfriend is also a native Angelino. That was her favorite thing to do with me when we would see a movie.
Old TV. Oh, and what?
Even new ones.
Pull them out, yeah.
We were watching Boogie Nights, and she's like, I know that place. That's that place.
M&M Market is in a commercial for Apple Pay. It's so cool. Yes, the Valley, it's a lot of neighborhoods with, and, I've lived in Canoga Park. I've lived in North Hollywood. I've lived here. And, I love it here because it's a neighborhood. When it was pandemic time and I'd be out, I was doing weeding. It's the only thing I could think of doing. And people would walk by and they'd say, how you doing? I'm doing fine. You need anything? No, I'm good. I didn't even know these people. My neighbor, Pam, who was so happy, she and her husband were so happy I moved here because I wasn't a renter anymore. And they turned out to be the best people in the world.
Yeah.
People, especially walking that whole pandemic, that early pandemic time when everything was so weird. Yeah. A lot of families, a lot of kids. Kids would walk by with people and I'd say, pick some flowers. And they'd look like, and I said, everyone tells them no. I tell them it's okay.
Good for you.
And, because why not? They were wildflowers, But
since you mentioned things that aren't there anymore, let's continue that list.
Okay, things that aren't there anymore.
In the Valley.
Wonderful restaurants.
Like?
Corky's. It was a breakfast place on Van Nuys. It was so damn good. Solly's used to be where, my family always talks about Solly's because they'd come here and we'd always go to Solly's. The loss of those diners. Yeah. Hart's is still there, but it's not like Jerry's is not Solly's. No. We knew the people. They recognized us in Solly's.
They're trying to bring back Norms's.
Norm's? I never went to Norm's, but that's just it. We need those diners where the cops hang out. Solly's was like that. Solly's was awesome. Yeah. And so was the Corky's. Corky's, I was close to it. We went right before it closed, and we were heartbroken. Yeah. And there were a lot of people who were. Yeah. And, it wasn't the greatest food in the world, but you could count on it. You could have breakfast all day is really important.
It is. How about the toasters on your table?
That was at Dupar's.
That's right.
Dupar's. I took my brother there. He was blown away. Loved Dupar's. But here, the other thing, too, my brother came from Phoenix.
Also, Ships had toasters.
Ships, yes. John knows Ships because he lived in West L.A. all his life, so he knows Ships. But, I miss that stuff. Yeah. It's still walkable. It's
Sherman Oaks in the Valley?
Very walkable. One of the reasons I bought this house was, one of the reasons, but down the street at the end of Catherine is the public library. And they call this area, this is from between Hazeltine and Van Nuys, basically Library Square.
Do they?
Yeah, that's Library Square.
Because there's more than one library here?
No, it's just because
Just because of that library?
yeah, and it's renovated. It's beautiful. They did a really nice job. It's lovely people there. I have feelings about public libraries, especially anyone who works there. So I always, I'm always smile and thank them and do all. And I will mention I'm a librarian, sometimes. Yeah.
Do you utilize a Canopy on TV? Are you familiar with this at all?
Is that the one that goes through my TV isn't hooked up to the internet, so we can't do any of that shit. I am not.
You're ready to be on that boat.
I'm ready. I'm technically savvy in what I need to know.
For those of you out there, Canopy is a way through Roku or Apple TV that
or
you
online. You can go use the library.
That you can use.
They have movies.
Movies for free. It's like a Netflix, but through the library.
Yeah, my neighbors told me about that. Did you know you could do that? I go, oh, that's cool.
Great.
I can do it off my laptop.
The library card is a powerful thing, even today.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And the reading, to me, I always say it doesn't matter what you read. I don't care if it's comic books. It's reading, right?
Okay.
And smart.
Let's wrap it up
right.
with newer things in Sherman Oaks that you appreciate. Is there any? Are there any?
A lot of dispensaries here.
Weed dispensaries.
There was a time, I swear to God, I thought there might have been more weed dispensaries along Ventura Boulevard than Starbucks, and that's hard to do because we had at least 5 within 3-mile radius. Starbucks.
What's your favorite around here?
I use the Higher Path. I
Path.
started going there because mine closed. The first one I went to was Daddy's Pipes. I love Daddy's Pipes. They were so cool. They knew me. They were great there. They were really. It was very homey.
What do you like to get at these places?
Pre-rolls and flour.
So just joints and
flour.
That you'll roll your old joint.
I like to roll my own.
Do you use pipes?
I'm old school.
Do you use
Papers?
pipes or do you use bongs?
Papers.
Just all joints.
I bonged over my years. Pipes. You can't. I like smoking a joint because I used to smoke cigarettes. So it's partly that. I'm old school.
It's also pre-pandemic. It's also like this communal thing.
Yeah, they stayed open, thank God, because I did smoke a lot.
But I'm saying during the pandemic, I don't know if I would accept a joint from somebody else.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a solitary smoker.
Right.
I'm more. I
Some
come
guy
home and
isn't
get high.
smoking too.
Not as much. When we first knew each other back in the 70s, yes, we smoked a lot. Smoked cigarettes. We smoked a lot of pot. We did drugs.
Yeah.
Not a lot of drugs, but yeah. But I stopped for a long time, and then I started again, and I haven't stopped. And when I used to buy pot with a friend of mine, and we call it a syndicate because we put together our money to get more. And then she said to me, Rob, you really should get your medical license. And I go, I was so scared too and everything. And I did it. And the first time I went in there, I just was like, I'd never seen so much pot in my life. And I was able to buy it. And it was the best thing. I still have that appreciation. And I go to the Higher Path now. And there are a couple of guys there I know, a couple of people, and, I am who I am. And I will often say, I still can't get over the joy of being able to buy it legally. And one time I was walking out with another couple, and they said, they were laughing about the fact you can get a discount on the back of your Ralph's receipt. There's a discount for the Higher Path.
Is there really?
First time only, but yeah. And I said, yeah, you remember when we had, and he goes, two of us were just laughing, to be able to buy it like this. It's still, I still can't get over it. Now, when I was down in Mexico, I figured I was going to go on a pot diet because it's not really legal down there. And I didn't, of course, bring it with me. And I figured I'll clean myself. That's what I do on vacation sometimes. I try to clean myself out.
Yeah.
Well, my sweet man thought I couldn't do a vacation without pot. So he made sure we had some. But it was Mexican pot.
Oh, no.
And I got to show you this. This is all this.
Okay, hold on.
I got to show you this picture.
She's running across the bowling alley. Oh, to it. Oh, she's got her phone.
Yeah.
She took a picture, I guess, on her phone.
Of course, I love, God, I love Mexico. Love. Well,
Where in Mexico were you guys?
La Paz, which is Baja, which is very different than mainland.
Yeah.
You know Peter Hong, don't you?
Sure.
Peter Hong's in Mexico.
Is he?
Yes, and he's been taking pictures. He is, oh man, he is just amazing. I love that guy.
When you say Baja, do you mean like Ensenada, Rosarita, or even more south?
All the way down.
All
the way down. Look up La Paz.
Okay.
It's north of Cabo.
Hold on.
It's north of Cabo, about 3 hours by bus.
Okay.
All right. See this?
3 hours by bus?
Yeah. But
do I
it's,
want to be on a Mexican bus for 3 hours?
They're nice buses. They have nice buses. That is see
Mexican-looking weed.
Yeah. Well, see the weed and the nice buds, but do you see the little bulls on it?
Yeah.
Supposedly that means what cartel it came from.
Oh.
Isn't that wild?
Very wild.
Anyway, so I had to do all this cleaning and the seeds and the stems.
All right.
And so I was telling everybody it's so old school.
Yeah.
And so when I came back, I was telling my friends.
Did it get you high, though?
Oh, my God, yes. It was fine. We were high. I smoked a lot. Not, yeah, I smoked. It's different. It's different pipe. It was very nice. I didn't know what it was, whether it was sativa, but it was fine, and it did its job. And it was fun. I mean, I when you don't have to drive, I don't like driving high.
Right.
So when I drive, that's why I smoke it until when I get home.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 o'clock at night, I'm smoking when I get home. But I don't like smoking when... No.
Robin, we will see you on the high seas.
Yes. Well, you check out my photos from La Paz when I'm going back. When I sell the house, I'll make an announcement on Facebook. Life changes.
Wasn't Robin fantastic? You know who else we'd like to retire with on a boat? Our Patreon. When you stoke us, you're saying, Tony, Jordan, here's a pack of gum. Here's a pack of baseball cards. Here's 2 tickets to an upcoming Cubs-Dodgers game. Every donation you hand over helps us keep this insane project a-rolling. So shout out to our Patreons, Nancy Rommelman, Sean Atlow, Matt Mills, Sean Wallace, Greg and Molly, Jamie Taylor, Mark Johnson, Kira Ann, Barney Grinke, Ben Welsh, Henry Furman, Jen Adams, The Lonely Chair, Trevor Wilson, Bree Wild, and Dougie Gyro. Want to hear your name at the end of next week's show? Go to patreon.com/hereinla and give till it hurts. Also, shout out to our Angelinos. To be an Angelino, all you have to do is PayPal us $25 or more. We will list you on the Here in LA website that Mark Johnson is building, and it'll be there forever. You'll also be given a number to denote how early you got in. For example, Angelino number 1 is Allie Miller. 2, George Wright. 3, Rita Joanne. 4, Jason Sutter. 5, Grant Houghton. 6, Rob Baker. 7, Kev Chang. 8 is Brenda Garcia. And 9 is John Griffiths. Just PayPal your hard-earned cash to busblog@gmail.com and know that you are stoking a couple of nice people. Want to support us, but you're remodeling a 70s house into a McMansion? You can still hope. You can help. Post your favorite episode on your Facebook. Oh my God, post 2. Tweet something nice about this. In fact, anytime you see me tweet about an episode, just retweet it. It's free. And for God's sake, tell your friends. Tell them how Here in LA is spelled, and then it's on Apple Podcasts and Google and even Spotify. Here in LA is produced by myself, Tony Pierce, and a man you pretty much need to hire to play trumpet on the bow of your boat, Jordan Katz. Editing, mixing, and music supervision by Jordan Katz. Songs by Orgone and Jordan Katz. Special thanks to Cindy for creating the logo, Jen for inspiring this, and all the research assistants and librarians everywhere who shine a light on the facts for us to learn from. Steady as she goes!